What's going on, everyone? So let's talk about James Harden potentially going to the Lakers. Now, LeBron James is willing to take a pay cut to free up the full mid-level exception, as well as would give us the ability to actually pull off a sign and trade. So the Lakers would have a ton of flexibility in order to acquire that piece. Now, LeBron is only going to do so if they can get a top tier guy. He's not going to do it for an Andre Drummond or something crazy like that, right? Like, it has to be somebody that he feels will immediately make an impact and really raise the ceiling for the Lakers. James Harden is one of the players that was named as a potential candidate. I want to dive into the good and the bad. I want to dive into how realistic it is and not. But I want to say and start out, I don't believe James Harden is coming. So we'll get kind of the obstacles out of the way, and then we'll talk about like his fit if he were to come. But I really don't see him coming. One, the only realistic way to acquire James Harden would be via sign and trade. Would the Clippers want to do that? And it's like there's not a ton of teams with like all this cap space that may, throw money at James Harden to where it's like Paul George, for example, right? Like Paul George has a little more leverage, right? Because the Sixers want him, and the Sixers have the money to sign him outright. So he could be like, hey, trade me to the Lakers, or I'm going to go sign with the Sixers and you get nothing, right? So take your pick, and maybe the Clippers would be incentivized to do that. With James Harden, it's like, where else are you going to go, right? Like, where are you going to go? Like, okay, go, right? And is James Harden going to take the mid-level exception? If James Harden would take the mid-level exception, I'm not super sold on James Harden with this team. And again, we'll dive into that in a moment. But if we could get him for the mid-level exception, yes, you do that all day. He's much better than the mid-level exception still. But I don't see him doing that, even despite a team like the Clippers. I think he's going to get the bag with the Clippers. I think Paul George is going to leave. I think James Harden, Kawhi Leonard will be the two kind of, stars for that team, and we'll see how that works out. So I don't see James Harden necessarily coming to the Lakers. Also, James Harden would really have to push to go to the Lakers. Now, with Paul George most likely leaving, right? Based on reports, James Harden is waiting to see what happens with Paul George, right? Where does he go and what ends up happening? There is this thought that if Paul George leaves, James Harden may end up leaving also and trying to go elsewhere. So maybe, right? Maybe he goes, you know what? Send me across the hall to the Lakers. But it's one of those things I wouldn't get my hopes up for. Again, if I'm being honest. Now, that doesn't mean it can't happen. That doesn't mean it necessarily won't happen. I just think it's very unlikely compared to the other potential pieces that may come. Like Clay, I think he very likely has a good shot of coming to Lakers, whether it's via trade or it's with the MLE. We'll see. But sticking with James Harden, right? I'm not super sold on James Harden coming, not because I don't think he would fit, because he is good off ball. He can shoot, right? He's actually a very good three-point shooter. He can finish and apply rim pressure, right? Like, he solves a lot of what the Lakers want. James Harden comes with so much headache, and you've seen it everywhere he's gone, and I don't buy into his commitment for winning. This is a guy that even with the Sixers was taking flights to Vegas. Look, I live in Vegas. I have seen him in casinos during playoff series, right? Like, I mean, it's public information. This isn't like a bombshell thing, right? This isn't something where it's like, there's no way, like, no, like, he's Dennis Rodman. He's the modern Dennis Rodman, right? This isn't like some, oh my God, like, really? Like, man, Tyler, you spilling some news? No, this is public information, right? Like, everyone knew. He had his team. He had those people with him, right? He frequent regularly during playoff series. I don't know how committed he is to winning, and I don't necessarily believe that I want somebody that isn't all in on winning. Not to mention, he's a guy that has shown when things don't go the way that James Harden wants, he's the first to go, get me out of here, right? So I don't know if I really want to deal with that, where I'd rather go with like a Clay who wants to be here, go get a DeMar DeRozan, something like that wants to be here, that are committed and are going to give 100%. However, if James Harden were to come to the Lakers and it did work out, I think it would be very good, right? JJ Redick wants LeBron James to play off ball more, right? That's the whole idea. LeBron James has talked heavily about for the last like 5-6 years how he wants to play off ball more. Problem is he said that and he hasn't actually done it. Does it from time to time, but for the most part, he has the ball in his hands. Now, could JJ be the difference maker to basically pull him away? Where, you saw Darvin Ham, and I mean, Darvin Ham even said it himself on several occasions that like, oh, well, I just, give it to LeBron and let him figure it out, right? Like, where JJ might actually have some sets and stuff. So my hope is that he'll buy in more, but you also need somebody that can handle the rock that he believes and trusts enough to play off ball, right? James Harden, I think, is one of those guys that LeBron may end up trusting enough to make the decisions, right? Also, with LeBron, if he were to commit and buy in, there's very few guys that would be good enough to handle the rock and make the plays and basically be the point guard than James Harden. Right? So if he's willing to kind of play that role of like, hey, I'm the point guard, I'm going to make the plays, I'm going to go get, 15 to 20 a night, but I'm also going to dish out 10 to 12 assists, right? Because you got LeBron James, you got Anthony Davis, you got, Austin Reeves, you got all these various pieces, then I think that you sign me up for that, right? Especially if he can be committed and be focused to winning. The biggest concern with James Harden is the disappearing acts in the playoffs, right? Like, he is notorious for just completely being irrelevant when the playoffs come and the moment being too big for him. A couple things about that. One, you will get like a game or two every series where he just wins it by himself. I mean, even in his worst playoff runs, he's had at least a game or two where he just is unbelievable. And you're just like, wow, right? Like even like with the Sixers 2 years ago, right? He had that game without Joel Embiid and he just was like, all right, I'm going to play like the best player in the world right now. Right? So you'll get a game or two each round where he just goes off. But it's the other games, right? It's the other, potential 2 to 4 games in which he doesn't show up in each round. And that, for most teams, has been concerning. Difference is, if he were to come to the Lakers, he wouldn't be asked to be the guy. He wouldn't even be asked to be the second guy, right? He would essentially be the third. And, the nights that he has bad games, you'd still have like Austin Reeves who could step up and do something, right? If you go get Clay still, right? Like you could have Clay that could come in and hit big shots and have big moments. I know people are like, oh, you went 0 of 11 or whatever. Look, even the greatest shooters ever have bad nights. Just timing sucks. And it's like, what have you done for me lately? But this is a guy that also shot 39% from 3 and averaged 18 a game while shooting 9 threes a game. He's still one of, if not the greatest shooters ever, and he still regularly goes off for 20 to 30 points. So, again, and he'd be your fifth option at that point, right? So, to me, I look at this situation with James Harden, and if he were to come, as like, okay, the Lakers would be good enough to weather the bad games from James Harden, and then all the games in which he is good and shows up, the Lakers probably win all of those games, right? So it's like, again, if he shows up, say, 2 games a series, you only need to win like 2 other games without him. I mean, he'll still be there. He'll still get the assists, right? He'll still probably get you 10 to 15, but he's had some bad games, right? He's had some bad moments. And that's where a little bit of the concern lies. But that also ties into his history of, again, going to Vegas during playoff series and, not showing up to practices and not being committed to winning the game of basketball, right? Like, that's been a big problem for him. So my concern is, like, would he be willing to go, okay, I have a real chance to win here, right? Like, with the Lakers, I got LeBron, I got Anthony Davis, we got a good team. Lakers should still make other moves. It's very possible he goes and looks and goes, you know what? Like, I have a better chance of winning there than with the Clippers with Paul George leaving. Like, we couldn't even win without Paul George or with Paul George, right? Like, what's going to happen when Kawhi basically is a no-show during the playoffs because he's hurt, like he has been every year the last like handful of years, and you don't have Paul George, and it's basically James Harden and a bunch of role guys. You're not going anywhere. So James Harden might look at it as like, hey, I could go to Lakers, work out a sign and trade, and then, get me to LA. It's a very real possibility. I just kind of doubt it, right? Again, if it happens, I'll be pumped. I mean, James Harden is a good basketball player, right? He's still a very good. He's not like he's not Houston James Harden, but he's still very good. He still could go get you 30 on any given night. He'd still go get you 10 assists on any given night, still rebound the basketball. He could still be an incredible impact guy. And essentially, as your third guy, that's great. He could close down the stretch, take pressure off of LeBron, take pressure off of Anthony Davis. I mean, he would make Anthony Davis' job so easy. Him just running the pick and roll with Anthony Davis, him just throwing lobs to AD. I mean, James Harden would have an absolute field day playing alongside Anthony Davis. And then also he could do a lot of the same stuff with LeBron. So it definitely would be, I'm not worried about the fit. Like, the fit is the least of my worries. It's everything else that comes with it is like where I have my concerns and my reservations. So again, if it happens, cool, sign me up. More likely not going to happen. And I also kind of feel like the Lakers are probably best to go look elsewhere, but he was on the list, so I at least wanted to talk about it. And of course, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you like the idea of James Harden coming to Lakers? Do you think, like, yeah, if you can get him, go get him? Do you think, no, like, stay away from James Harden? He's like the last guy you want. Do you have your concerns about his commitment to winning? It's probably my biggest concern. Like, if he's like, no, I'll do whatever it takes. If you want me to never leave the hotel, I'll never leave the hotel. Like, if he's fully committed, sign me up. But anyway, again, let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me not. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.